Classes resume at Kenya's Garissa University nearly 1 year after a deadly al-Shabaab attack. A Nigerian entrepreneur sets her eyes on healthy snacks. And farewell Starman. The world mourns the loss of the legendary music icon David Bowie. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent Makori. This is Africa 54. Now, students at Kenya's Garissa University College resumed classes on Monday, 9 months after an attack by the terrorist group Al-Shabaab killed 148 people. Strapped with explosives, masked Al-Shabaab gunmen stormed the Garissa University campus some 200 kilometers from the Somali border in a pre-dawn rampage, tossing grenades and spraying bullets at cowering students. The attack was one of the worst on Kenyan soil in almost 2 decades. On Monday, only a handful of students attended a business management class on campus. Many students who live farther away did not turn up for class.
We lose a lot of friends, classmates here in Garissa University, and their memories is still with us. But despite what happened, we still have to move on and continue with our studies. Though the memories are there, when we see around the environment, there are some places we used to sit to have fun. We used to read evening discussion. We used to come here to meet our friends. We discuss with them. All those memories are there. We feel bad about it, but we have no otherwise.
While teaching and administrative staff reported to work a week ago, most of the campus has been closed since the attack, and many students were offered places at a sister campus in Western Kenya.
I stand with them. If I was to empathize with them, I know they are also still not fully recovered for what happened. And I know with the time, slowly by slowly, many will start coming back. Yeah.
Security was tight on campus with officials opening an on-campus police post as part of a bid to attract new students. All vehicles entering the campus were checked, and heavily armed policemen patrolled the university premises.
We are ready to stand up and rise against any attempt to project this area as if an institution of higher learning cannot take place. And we are back. We are happy that the government reopened the college. Already the county security team have put in place measures which this system will enhance. We have police post, which is a very positive thing.
Kenya's military has launched several offensives to flush out the militants who say the attacks are punishment for Kenyan soldiers fighting the group as part of an African Union peacekeeping force. Well, thousands of Central African refugees at a camp in Cameroon were able to cast their ballots in their country's recent presidential elections. Others in other parts of the world could not. But regardless of who becomes the next leader after a runoff ballot later this month, Central Africans around the world say they are excited and can't wait for their country to emerge from its crisis. VOA's Mariama Diallo reports.
Dolegele Anissé Georges.
After years of unrest, the Central African Republic recently observed peaceful elections. Now, 2 candidates, Anissé Dologele and Faustin Touadéra, head to a runoff at the end of the month. The National Electoral Commission said nearly 80% of voters turned out. That includes some living outside the country, like these residents of a refugee camp near Garoua Boulay in Cameroon.
Everybody is so excited because we need change in our country.
Because there is disorder in my country, we are here to find a unique president who will be able to reconcile our country and bring peace. That's all we want.
But not all members of the Central African Republic's diaspora were able to vote. Gabino Gerengomba lives in the United States and is the former head of the Central African community in Washington. He didn't get to vote, but says the high turnout sends a message to the world.
They really want to get past this very sad episode of our history and then move on to, greater pastures.
Sectarian violence between Christians and Muslims in the past several years has caused nearly 1 million people to flee their homes.
And it was an opportunity for us to really realize that we Central African are the only people that can, be responsible of whatever our country will become.
Gerengomba laughs when asked about his favorite candidate.
Because right now, I think it's not even about preference nor about affiliation. It's about who has the best plan, who can reconcile the Central African people, who can bring about a society framework. I will vote for whoever has the best plan.
The winner of the runoff will replace the transitional government of Catherine Samba Panza, which came to power in 2014 after a rebel leader stepped aside less than a year after overthrowing President François Bozizé. Mariama Diallo, VOA News, Washington.
Well, Pope Francis says the migrant crisis gripping Europe poses a big challenge to Europe's values and traditions. But he says the continent should be able to integrate the newcomers without undermining the safety of its citizens. In an annual address to diplomats at Vatican City, the pontiff says the flood of new arrivals, mainly from Africa and the Middle East, was a major burden for Europe and had given rise to significant fears over security and international terrorism. However, Pope Francis stressed the need for Europe to maintain its principles of humanity when dealing with the influx of migrants.
L'attuale ondata migratoria sembra minare le basi.
The phenomenon of migration raises a serious cultural issue which necessarily demands a response. The acceptance of migrants can thus prove a good opportunity for new understanding and broader horizons, both on the part of those accepted, who have the responsibility to respect the values, traditions, and laws of the community which takes them in, and on the part of the latter, who are called to acknowledge the beneficial contribution which each migrant can make to the whole community.
Well, more than 1 million people flowed into Europe last year in search of refuge, many trying to escape violence in Syria, Iraq, and sub-Saharan Africa. Well, Washington is awaiting U.S. President Barack Obama's final State of the Union address on Tuesday. VOA's Michael Bowman reports the president and congressional Republicans will differ in assessing the last 7 years and clash on what America needs going forward.
The point is, America can do anything.
On Saturday, President Obama gave a taste of his upcoming address.
Our businesses are now on a 70-month streak of job creation, with more than 14 million new jobs in all. We've revamped our schools and the way we pay for college. We've made historic investments in clean energy and put ourselves on a path to a low-carbon future. We've brought more than 17 million Americans into our healthcare system.
What we really need to hear about is how he will unleash the creativity and drive of the American people. As Republicans, we want to empower our great people and country to compete and win.
Already, Republicans are dismissing what they expect Obama to say Tuesday.
The president is going, I assume, to talk about the future and try to paint a rosy picture where one does not exist. What we'd love to hear from the president is a real plan to defeat ISIL.
So he'll be talking about the future. He'll be very optimistic. He'll be very action-oriented.
McDonough has been at the president's side during the crafting of Tuesday's address.
He doesn't want this to be your traditional policy speech that outlines a series of proposals. We'll have a lot of policy during the course of this year. Rather, he wanted to step back and take a look at the future of this country, the challenges we're going through.
The Republican response will be delivered by South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley, an Indian American and a rising star in the party many expect will be considered as a potential vice presidential nominee. Michael Bowman, VOA News, Washington.
Well, we want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we covered. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. Check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Find me on Twitter at VOA Vince Makori. Well, coming up, how young African innovators are turning Kenya into a high-tech hub. Stay with us.
for a healthier planet.
From almost the beginning of its colonization, Virginia was a tobacco state, and despite falling cigarette sales, it remains the state's largest crop. According to Julian Bowie of Titan Bioenergy Systems, there are other uses for tobacco, though, namely ethanol.
In the United States, we produce about 15 billion gallons of ethanol, and most of it comes from corn.
So Titan Bioenergy plans to begin producing ethanol from tobacco.
From corn, you can get a little bit over 300 gallons per acre. If we use tobacco, we can get about 1,000 gallons per acre.
Bowie points out that tobacco isn't a food crop, and the entire plant can be utilized.
As compared to traditional tobacco, where only the leaves are being used.
Bowie predicts tobacco will eventually be competitive with corn.
Our intention is to put sugar from tobacco directly into the fermentation tank of any ethanol factory in the United States.
Titan will soon begin production of tobacco ethanol in North Carolina. I'm Rebecca Ward for VOA's Green Beat.
Welcome back. Innovation continues to change our world, from technology to farming techniques and even packaging of food. Africa 54's Esther Ewart has the story of a young Nigerian entrepreneur who has set her eyes on healthy snacks.
To eat fresh or try dried fruits, well, that is now a personal choice in our world today. Using personal savings and loans from family and friends, 29-year-old Affiong Williams returned home to Nigeria to set up a beverage and snack company after working for a small business in South Africa. She started out at her home and eventually moved her factory to Lagos. Her company, Real Fruits, processes and packages dried fruits for sale to Nigerians who want to have healthy snacks. Launched in 2012 with an initial investment of $100,000, Affiong now employs 17 people. She says she saw a gap in the market and capitalized on the opportunity.
Well, I was actually attracted to this sector for a number of reasons. Firstly, I believe there's untapped opportunity in processing and value addition of raw materials. And I also believe that, it's a very budding sector. There's a lot of opportunity, as well as the job creation, which I think is quite important to me as an entrepreneur, to be able to play in an industry that would create a lot of jobs.
The fruits are dried in Ogun State, then packaged by Real Fruits in Lagos for distribution across the country. Affiong says at first the learning curve to start a business was quite challenging.
It was not easy introducing something new into the market, such as dried fruits. The market has taken a while to accept it, but I think we're getting to the stage where people like the products and want more of them and are buying more of it, and so that has just necessitated our growth. We do have big ambitions to scale into a world-class factory that allows us to also export some of our dried fruit. So that's our next big goal as a company.
Real Fruits distributes 5 products: coconut, banana, mango, cashew, and pineapple. The prices range from 150 to 400 naira, the equivalent of 75 cents to $2. Affiong says for Nigeria's agribusiness to thrive, the country needs to address structural issues affecting the agricultural sector.
I think agriculture, the sector primarily, is obviously more complicated than people anticipate. I think there's so many issues with the sort of structural issues with the sector. So for any sort of success, it would take a lot of planning and understanding, and also a lot of technical understanding, which I think is one of the big missing pieces, even from farming all the way to processing.
With crude oil prices at an all-time low, and at a time when Nigeria's government is encouraging investment in agriculture to reduce its over-reliance on oil exports, Affiong is working hard to make her business a key player in the agribusiness. Esther Ewart, VOA News, Washington.
Well, now from Accra to Johannesburg, an innovations revolution is unfolding in Africa, and the East African nation of Kenya is taking the lead. VOA's Paul Ndiho was in Nairobi and has more to tell us. Paul?
That's right, Vincent. Africa innovation, young people in Africa are creating new technologies and applications that are driving the country's economic growth. And Kenya is turning a high-tech hub Well, I just returned from there, and here is more.
Thank you.
African innovation is not receiving the level of global recognition and support it truly deserves. The continent is brimming with a rising new generation of bold, creative thinking innovators and entrepreneurs who are inventing and developing new technologies that are simplifying lifestyles and transforming societies. If you are an aspiring entrepreneur, young innovator on the African continent, perhaps you should consider moving to Nairobi if you want to see your dreams come true. So many small companies started very, very small right here in the capital city, but have grown into multi-million-dollar businesses. 5 years ago, there was nowhere for developers to come together and grow. Today, iHub is setting the pace for Africa's tech revolution and putting Kenya on the global innovations map. It's early afternoon at the Community Business Networking Center. These techies are doing their thing, hitting cyberspace, typing away on laptops, iPads, and smartphones.
The main objective was to create a space for the local tech community to find a home. And over time, our main goal has been to catalyze the growth of the Kenyan tech community. And we've been doing that in a variety of ways through various initiatives. And we've seen over the years a very fast-growing and evolving startup scene in Nairobi. But what we try and do as well is help people who are trying to set up similar spaces for their communities outside Nairobi to do that, because like in Kisumu, there's Lake Hub, and they're trying to set up. They've set up a space actually that's doing something similar there for people in the tech community. Innovation centers in Kenya, like iHub, are helping to incubate and train developers to launch their startups and access markets.
There are a lot of tech hubs in Kenya here, especially here in Nairobi. But iHub stands out from all these places. What makes you guys unique?
We sort of have a free, a hands-off model on the people that get here. So we put them in one room and we let them really just flourish. So that means our vetting process also gives us some of the best candidates from all over. And then that, once we put them together, we trust that they're going to do something great. And a lot of the time, that's what's happened.
Already, more than 125 companies have grown out of iHub. Many are dedicated to applying technology to Africa's specific problems. On a typical day, about 250 members stop by, allowing a couple of engineers to team up, exchange ideas, and sometimes make business deals. Above all, it has helped dispel the notion that Africa's tech community is somehow lacking in ideas, talent, or ambition.
There are good developers, and so that ready availability of good developers helps you to set up an internet business or a web-based business or a mobile-based business relatively easier than you might be able to in other countries in Africa.
iHub hosts a wide range of events and workshops, including a Google Business Group and Google Developer Communities. iHub already provides working space for burgeoning new companies. They also support other tech hubs by providing them with technical, training, mentoring, and business tools so that they can serve their growing startup ecosystems.
Wow, this is rather cool. These are like sizzling brains here with all sorts of ideas and creativity. What feeling did you get just talking to all these young fellows?
Well, Vincent, I've never been very optimistic about the future of Africa. And today I can tell you that I'm very, very optimistic about where Africa is going and where the young people are taking Africa.
Yeah, because this is the kind of things that people in the West never get to see. The typical story of Africa is miserable people, hungry, sick. But yeah, we're seeing creators, innovators, people actually are coming up with not only ideas that exist in their minds, but what they create has been applied in society, right?
Oh, Kenya is already dubbed as the African Silicon Savannah. I'm sure you've heard about that. And why is that? Because a lot of people are going into Kenya. They're saying if people can, let's say, for example, IHAB can start in Kenya, or M-Pesa can start in Kenya, Ushahidi can start in Kenya. Yeah. Why can't we do it? Yeah. So people from all over the continent are going to Kenya saying we need to be part of this. Yeah. We need to be the people leading the development of our country. We need to be up there challenging whatever Silicon Valley is doing in California.
And to kind of reemphasize, they have built apps that are being used in particular sectors in the country and around the region, right?
Oh, yeah, they're building apps that are not really working in Africa, but all over the world. Yeah. Take, for example, Ushahidi. Yeah. That's a crowdsourcing software that has been used all over the world. Yeah. Every time there is a crisis, every time there is an earthquake, every time it started right there at IHAB. Yeah. And there are some of the founding fathers of IHAB too. Yeah.
Well, I have to say that I noticed, that this is a kind of uplifting, dignifying story, even to those in countries like Kenya. You didn't just go to Kibera slums to tell us about the filth and misery, but you're talking about the other side of the country that people never get to talk about, especially in the West.
Yeah, you know what is interesting about that story? The faces you saw in that piece are not just about people from Nairobi. Yeah. They're people from Kibera. Exactly. But they have come together, the group, they have said, oh, you know what? Let the places where we come from not define what we do. Exactly. So they come from those places. It might be Kibera, it might be some other places, but when they're at IHAB, they are creating apps or they are creating things that are going to be used by everybody else in the world.
Okay, yeah. This really dignifies the people, dignifies the continent. What else is in store? Because I know you were gone for some time. You have a lot you're going to share with us. Just some highlights.
Well, I have a lot of stories, especially in the area of innovation, in the area of entrepreneurship. There is a lot happening on the continent, and I will be sharing some of those stories in the coming days and weeks to come.
Just very quickly, what are some of the challenges they face in as much as they create, these young fellows?
That's a very good question, Vincent. Most of the challenges really the governments haven't built an ecosystem where all these young people can come and incubate their ideas or turn their ideas into something tangible. The other challenge is about funding. A lot of them don't have money or seed capital to start small businesses. So coming into groups like that or coming and sitting at IHAB helps them to network and link up with people who might be potential funders. Right. For example, Google.
We'll continue with that because of time. Google and others. We hope they all fund these people. Paul, thank you very much. And that's Africa 54's Paul Diham. Well, it's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54, a barrier-breaking legend of music and film passes away at 69. We'll be right back.
If you've just joined us, I'm Mariam Diallo, and here is a quick recap of today's headlines. In Kenya, Garissa University reopens on Monday more than 9 months after 148 students died in an Al-Shabaab attack. In Egypt, police stepped up security after 3 tourists stabbed by 2 suspected Islamic State militants at the Red Sea resort in Hurghada. We stay in Egypt, where the country's parliament reopens for the first time in over 3 years, with more than 300 new laws to be ratified. Finally, in Ghana, a fugitive suspect in the murder of a British actress is to be extradited to Britain and undergo a criminal investigation. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Welcome back to Africa 54. Here's what's trending. Now, the world mourns a trailblazer. Artistic chameleon David Bowie has died of cancer at age 69. Bowie was one of the most influential musicians of his time, constantly reinventing his persona and sound, from the 1960s hippie groove of Space Oddity through Ziggy Stardust and the Thin White Duke to his later incarnation as a soulful rocker. A retrospective of his career, David Bowie Is, opened at London's Victoria and Albert in 2013, becoming the museum's fastest-selling show, celebrating his legacy as a style icon as well as a musician and performer. His latest album, the critically acclaimed Black Star, was released on his 69th birthday, just days before his death. He is survived by his second wife, a Somali model and activist Iman Mohammed Abdul Majid, and children Duncan Jones, the acclaimed sci-fi director, and Alexandria Zahara Jones. And that is what is trending today. Well, it's time for Monday's Sports Report, and joining us now is Sonny Young with our Sunny Side of Sports. Hello, Sonny.
Hello, Vincent, and sporty greetings once again to our Africa 54 viewers. The Los Angeles Football Club will kick off its inaugural Major League Soccer season in 2018. The club unveiled its official logo to cheering supporters in Los Angeles. Chanting fans attended the ceremony at historic Union Station in downtown Los Angeles. The fledgling club will play at a new 22,000-seat, state-of-the-art soccer stadium in Exposition Park near the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. Los Angeles Football Club has attracted some big-name investors. Basketball Hall of Famer Magic Johnson and U.S. women's soccer great Mia Hamm are part of the ownership group. Hamm put an official LA football scarf on another part owner, comedian and movie star Will Ferrell.
And texture of our streets. These are the colors.
I am actually a member of this fine ownership group, and it is very exciting to... I've never been a part owner of anything, so I'm still part owner of an 84 Toyota Camry with my brother. And it is thrilling to see a turnout like this, to already see a fan base developing.
Known for his comic roles in Hollywood, Will Ferrell is also a sports fan. In fact, he studied sports broadcasting at the University of Southern California in Los Angeles, where he graduated with a degree in sports information before launching his comedy and acting career. Meanwhile, Major League Soccer will hold its annual draft of players on Thursday in Baltimore, Maryland. Ghanaian defender Joshua Yarrow, who was a guest on Africa 54 in 2014, is being touted as a possible #1 pick. Joshua played the first 3 seasons for Georgetown University men's soccer team. He decided to forego his final year of U.S. collegiate eligibility and signed with MLS. I'm VOA Sonny Young, and that's the sunny side of sports. Vincent?
Well, thanks a lot, Sonny, and be sure to watch the sunny side of sports every Monday and Friday right here on Africa 54. And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com for more news. Tune in to VOA's evening radio show, Africa News Tonight, at 1800 UTC. And in the mornings to Daybreak Africa between 0300 and 0600 UTC. That's Monday through Friday. Thanks a lot for watching from all of us in Washington. Have a good night.
Welcome to English in a Minute. Have you had to take bad-tasting medicine? The bad taste makes it hard to swallow. But does this expression really have to do with medicine?
Catherine trained the new guy, Eric, to be her assistant.
That's right. She taught him everything he needs to know about her department.
And when it came time for promotion, Eric got the job instead of Catherine. Man, that is a bitter pill to swallow.
The bitter pill in this idiom is an unpleasant fact that is difficult to accept, or, as the saying goes, swallow. In this example, Catherine is the one who must swallow a bitter pill. She has to accept that she did not get a promotion at work. And that's English in a Minute.